Where will the top free agent wide receivers land this off season? Welcome, football fans, to another free agency predictions video. In this video, I'm predicting the landing spot for the top free agent wide receivers. That's right. Free agents, trades, landing spots for the top names at wide receiver. There's plenty of vets. There's plenty of iconic names that are available. So let's discuss. Before I do, Gronk, spike the like button. Liking the video really does help the channel and send this video to more NFL fans. So if you want to support me and the channel, like the video and let me know in the comments, which wide receiver do you want your favorite team to sign? Let's get started with the first wide receiver prediction for free agency. That is Chris Godwin re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As much as I want him to go to the Patriots, and in all honesty, I think if he doesn't go to Tampa Bay, the Patriots will be very high on the list for Chris Godwin because he does have the Tom Brady connection when it comes to the New England system and how he may fit in Josh McDaniels' offense, because he did play with Brady, and for a stretch there, Brady was kind of like the offensive coordinator and had a lot of influence over the offense. So Godwin has already played in that style of offense and played with Brady. So therefore, I feel like the connection to McDaniels would be pretty smooth and swift. And I think just through Brady himself, he probably got a feel for the nature of New England. And then on top of that, the Patriots covet their toughness. They covet their fierce wide receivers that can be chippy, that will go over the middle and catch a difficult pass, right? Think Julian Edelman, Wes Welker. Godwin may not be the same skin color, but he's the same style of player. He is tough as absolute nails. He will run over the middle, he will take a licking, and he will catch the football with strong hands. He's also great after the catch. He can block. There's really nothing about his game that you don't absolutely love, especially if you're a Patriots fan. He fits the marquee of what a Patriots receiver is. I love Chris Godwin. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. So if he does go to New England, I'll be elated. I think Jacksonville is also a place he could go now that Christian Kirk has been traded to the Texans. Kirk, by the way, was going to be in this video, but he got traded, okay? But Godwin to Jacksonville is possible because of the connection to Liam Cohen, and now they have their slot position wide open. I know that Parker Washington is somebody that they like in Jacksonville, but I don't think that's enough for me to be sold. They won't upgrade that spot. So look out for Godwin to the Jags. That is entirely possible. But ultimately, I just feel like Godwin is too loyal. He's too loyal to Todd Bowles. He's too loyal to Jason Light. He's too loyal to the crew. He's too loyal to the Tampa fan base and the fans in general. And he won a Super Bowl there. He's an all-time Buccaneer. He's best buds with Mike Evans. He loves Baker Mayfield. He has a quarterback. They've been winning a lot. There's no real reason for him to leave if he gets a substantial payday, if he's close enough with the contract, right? That's why a team like New England possibly could steal him, because if they just totally outcash the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then it's very possible. Jacksonville maybe a little bit less. I know they have the offensive ties and the connection there, but Tampa just feels like home for Godwin, so it feels unlikely he's going to leave. The next guy is Davante Adams. And you guys know I'm rolling with this Raider thing with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Call me whatever you want, bro. But I just want this to happen. I don't know, man. I'm probably not right. I could see Davante Adams going to a number of different teams. I could see him going to San Francisco for a reason that we'll discuss a little bit later. I could see him going to the Rams. as a complement to Puka Nacua and playing with Matthew Stafford and playing in LA. I think he could play in California in general. The Chargers are another team where he could go. They need a receiver. He is from Cali, California, so I feel like very likely that could happen. And then on top of that, maybe a couple other teams would come to mind. But I feel like where Aaron Rodgers goes, whether it be the Raiders, the Giants, I feel like that's probably the first place he's going to get an offer. It's probably most likely where he's going to go, right? And if it is the Raiders, I feel like it would be an easy transition because he just played there last year. He's literally played there the last couple of seasons. The fans still like him there. It's almost like they rented him to the Jets and they got him back, and they also got a third-round pick. So I don't think there would be any sort of sourness between the player or the organization. It's also like a different management, a different coach, a different OC, Chip Kelly. They need a number one receiver. So yeah, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is going there, which is my prediction for now because of his ties to Tom Brady and Pete Carroll's respect for Aaron Rodgers, and because they only have the 6th pick and not the 1st pick, I feel like that is probably where it's going to work out for Davante Adams to land back with the Raiders. But I could see him going maybe back to Green Bay. I mean, there's a lot of different places. I think Adams might be the best receiver available, not through a trade. Out of all the free agents, I think he's probably the best. He still had 1,000 yards, over 80 catches last year. He's still a very good player. Next up, we've got Hollywood Brown, who I've predicted to go to Buffalo. And just extending on that prediction, I like how he fits this offense. Last year, I looked a little bit deeper into his snaps in Kansas City, and he didn't play a lot of them. He actually played like under 200 snaps last year for the Chiefs. But he did play more out wide than he did in the slot, which is interesting, right? So in Buffalo, they do kind of need an outside receiver a little bit more than they need an inside receiver. But I feel like as a Z option, right, or as a movable piece within an offense, he could play in the slot and work vertical. He can play outside. We've seen him produce like 1,000-yard level seasons in Baltimore, in Arizona, like in different offenses where he's playing a different role. I think that just speaks to his former first-round talent. And the best quarterback of his career would be Josh Allen. Josh Allen has said, and there are rumors that Josh Allen likes Hollywood Brown quite a bit and would like to play with him. And I feel like the speed factor is a big one. Like, I think if Buffalo's going to bring in a receiver, it's going to be a guy with real downfield threatening and speed. That threat of going vertical, that threat of getting over the top, that threat of making a deep ball play. I think that's something the Bills do kind of need. Like, Coleman's not that type of player. He was an ex-receiver for them last year. He was their outside wide receiver. He's more of a jump ball guy, a contested catch artist, while Curtis Samuel is more of a chess piece. Khalil Shakir is a slot guy. So I feel like Hollywood having a little bit of inside-outside versatility, the speed that some of these other guys don't really have. Curtis Samuel is very fast, but he's not exactly a vertical threat. That's not really his game. You more work him on horizontal stuff and yak opportunities. Hollywood is more that natural route runner, that natural space finder, and a guy that I feel like would really complement the rest of the receiver room without getting the wide receiver 1 tag. Because I think what worked really well in Buffalo was having no wide receiver 1, right? As soon as they brought in Amari Cooper, like, it was kind of underwhelming. Amari Cooper didn't really do a lot. He was just kind of in his role, and he wasn't targeted a lot. Like, that's not the way the offense operates in Buffalo. So at least under Joe Brady, that's not how it operates anymore. So Hollywood Brown would kind of work like he did in Kansas City, where he's just one guy out of a bunch of other guys, and he's like a good 2, but he's not overwhelming. He's not a DK Metcalf. He's not a Brandon Aiyuk. He's not this guy coming in that demands targets. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that would work pretty well, and it would add something that they don't have. Next up, we have Amari Cooper to the Baltimore Ravens, and I also predicted this already. But again, I like this fit because I think it allows them the versatility to move around their other pieces. Amari Cooper is best on the outside. Amari Cooper has always been primarily an outside wide receiver because he has excellent releases at the line of scrimmage. His ability to be quick, his ability to beat a corner with his feet, and not get jammed at the line of scrimmage has always been the strength of his game. Now that is starting to dwindle a little bit. His long speed to run by somebody is starting to dwindle a little bit. The gas is a little bit lesser, but as a third receiver, he's a good 3, right? Like he can be a good option that every once in a while Lamar can find one-on-one, whether it be a back shoulder attempt, whether it be working, a 10 to 15 yard dig route, whether it be just a slant or a fade down the sidelines. Like I feel like Amari Cooper can win those one-on-ones. Defenses are going to be focused on Zay Flowers. Defenses are going to be focused on the tight ends. Defenses are going to be focused on Derrick Henry and Lamar running the ball. So Amari Cooper as a one-on-one guy in Baltimore on the outside is something that I would really like, right? Rashad Bateman, he actually operated really well as a 2. And we even saw against the Bills, like he had some big plays as a 1. And Isaiah likely should only be more involved. They've still got Mark Andrews. So it's not like they need an overwhelming wide receiver to come in there like a DK Metcalf. They just need another guy that can win on the outside and can win one-on-ones in certain situations. And I don't really feel like Nelson Aguilar is that guy. He's always been more of a slot guy. It also allows Zay to kind of move into the slot a little bit more where he's more dynamic because he has the horizontal ability to beat you left or right instead of just beating you down the sidelines because he's one of the quickest receivers in football. So Amari Cooper, I feel like would be a great fit with Baltimore and Lamar. And he's also a very good personality, wants to win, wants to be in a winning culture, very quiet. I think he would work in Baltimore. The Broncos, I have a new one here. I think they're going to sign Cooper Kupp. I thought Cooper Kupp would go to the Texans. I was wrong. They decided to go with Christian Kirk. I thought the ties between Nick Caley, the offensive coordinator of the Texans, the new one, and Cooper Kupp might bring him to Houston, right? But Denver does make a lot of sense. I initially did predict Keenan Allen to go to the Broncos. Kupp and Allen are fairly similar players. I've found a new home for Keenan Allen, and I've moved Cooper Kupp to the Broncos. And I think Broncos fans will hate that less, and Chargers fans will hate that less. Seeing Keenan Allen on the Broncos would be a little sour. But Cooper Kupp, I like how he would fit in terms of the screen game and the yak opportunities within the offense. The ability to just read zone and find the soft spots and the holes in the zone from the slot position. The fact that he is a big slot receiver. He's 6'2", 6'3". A lot of people think Cooper Kupp's small. He's actually pretty big. Right, that's kind of part of his game. His balance is incredible, right? His hands are super consistent. And he's one of the smartest receivers in football. And I feel like with all the RPOs and stuff that the Broncos run, it's more about finding those soft spots than it is routing people up. Like Kupp's maybe lost that ability to separate a little bit, but he's still like working at an extremely Hall of Fame level in terms of just like, okay, I got to get like 7 yards down the field and just find that spot where the guys aren't. And then I'm going to turn around, find Bo Nix. Then as soon as I get the football, I can make a guy miss and create some extra yards. And I feel like Cooper Kupp could be that like chain mover receiver for them that they don't have. That quick underneath threat that they don't have. Like they've got Cortland Sutton on the outside, the big time number 1. They've got all these other younger receivers. Franklin's got speed. Mims got speed. But they're not proper great route running receivers. Kupp gives them a dimension they don't really have. So I like Cooper Kupp to the Broncos. Stefon Diggs, former Texan, stays in the state of Texas with the Dallas Cowboys. And he joins his brother. I don't know if this is going to happen. I really don't. But I think it's fun. I mean, why not? Both Diggs in Dallas, I still think Stefon Diggs can play. I thought last year, he produced at a pretty consistent rate in terms of the volume he was getting, and then also the amount of receptions he was producing. And I feel like as a compliment, as a 2 to CeeDee Lamb, even coming off an ACL, I think he could be a good number 2, right? Like that chain moving receiver, that guy that is working the slot but can play a little bit on the outside. That guy that for Dak Prescott, that's so decisive and so quick-minded in terms of Dak is one of the best at the line of scrimmage, at reading coverages and getting rid of the ball quickly on time. That would work really well with Stefon Diggs. I think even better than CJ Stroud. Like, Stroud was still a young quarterback that was developing, still trying to figure out his way around coverages and things like that. And CJ Stroud is a guy that more so in that offense with Houston was more so built on the vertical passing game, right? While Dallas could be built a little bit more on the quick passing game. And Diggs' ability to create something out of nothing with his quick, jittery movements after the catch, and then his quick routes underneath. We'll see how the knee recovers, but I still feel like he's going to be able to play at a fairly high level, enough to be a wide receiver 2 for a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who is an absolute demon on the Dallas football field. So I think Diggs joins his brother. I just think it would be very fun. He'd probably take a discount, and I couldn't really see him being much of a headache or an issue, being that his brother is on the team. Like, I think it would be kind of awkward if Stefon Diggs all of a sudden went crazy on Dallas because his brother's there. Like, he can keep him in line. Like, I honestly don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Keenan Allen is going to go back to Los Angeles and play with Justin Herbert again. This is my prediction. I don't know if it's going to happen because I don't know if Jim Harbaugh wants it. And I don't really know if the Chargers just believe that Allen is not a great fit for Greg Roman's offense. But I do believe that Justin Herbert needs wide receivers. And I would love to see Keenan Allen finish his career with the Chargers because he's always been a Charger. He's always been a Charger to me. And one season in Chicago doesn't change anything. And he still played well in Chicago last year. He didn't feel like the same Keenan Allen. Maybe it was the jersey. I don't know. But he was still good. He was still producing. And yeah, Ladd McConkey is more of a slot player. But I feel like McConkey's good enough to move him around. And I feel like Keenan Allen working with Ladd McConkey, that would be pretty dangerous. Especially both of their abilities to separate in the quick areas of the field. I just feel like the Chargers need another guy that they can rely on third down. Another guy that when the Texans are double teaming Ladd McConkey and manning up the rest, they need another guy to win. And that's Keenan Allen. Like, Keenan Allen, as slow as you think he might be, as washed as you think he might be, he's still so savvy, it's ridiculous. His ability to just route a guy up, like just the different techniques that he offers from his wide receiver route tree is just ridiculous. So, yeah, he's not as explosive as he used to be, but he's savvy as ever. So, a Keenan Allen to the Chargers, I think would help them a lot in a huge position of need. The Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are going to sign a receiver, maybe multiple receivers. Mike Williams does make some sense. Mike Williams was added to this list because initially I was supposed to do this video for Bleacher Report and they wanted me to talk about Mike Williams, but he's not one of the top names I would have thought of when it comes to landing spots for receivers. He is a big name, though. And Mike Williams struggled last year, coming off of an injury, playing with the Jets, didn't work out, right? Got traded to the Steelers, didn't really work out either. And Pittsburgh had plenty of opportunity for Mike Williams. Now, maybe another offseason of him to be able to repair his knee, for him to get up to speed, for him to become more explosive once again and work that lower body. Perhaps he becomes closer to the Mike Williams we saw a couple years ago. We know that he's got an incredibly big frame. This is one of the biggest receivers I've ever seen. His wingspan, his hands, his arms, that is just crazy to see. Mike Williams is just so much bigger than the average cornerback. His ability to catch the football in tight, confined spaces, his ability to moss people. Yeah, he's not going to run by you, but you throw it in his vicinity, it's hard for him to not catch it. So he appeared washed last year, but I think a team that could take a chance on him that needs an outside wide receiver is the Carolina Panthers. He's from Carolina, right? He's from that area. He played at Clemson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that obviously makes sense. A homecoming, right? Remotivate him, resituate him, and see what he has left. It would be a one-year deal, cheap. See if he's got something. If he doesn't, oh well. But he could play that Mike Evans role for this offense under Canales. So that's why I have him signing with Carolina, going back home. Another receiver I think could land in Carolina is Tyler Lockett. I think why not sign two veteran receivers and see which one works out. Tyler Lockett worked with Canales in Seattle. Excuse me. And I feel like he still has something left. I think more so than Mike Williams. I felt like last year, Lockett still has speed. The one thing that bugs me about Lockett has always been his inability to create yards after catch because he simply chooses not to. He gives up on a lot of plays. But he's still got quickness and speed to run by a corner. And he still tracks the football at an extremely high level. And he's also good with small quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Bryce Young. Bryce has got that good touch and that good layering ability that I believe could be pretty good with Tyler Lockett. And Lockett has that dimension to be able to play inside or out, right? Before Jackson Smith and Jigba got there, he was really producing as a slot player for the Seahawks. They moved him more outside the last couple of seasons. His numbers have dipped a bit, but I still feel like he can play either or, and he has throughout his career. So whether it be as an outside speed threat to get past the secondary and threaten the secondary vertically, or it's just the quick underneath route tree, he can operate in both spaces. So I could see him reconnecting with a former coach in Carolina. DeAndre Hopkins to the Pittsburgh Steelers is my choice for D-Hop. I don't think Hopkins' market is going to be that large, right? Maybe he could return to Tennessee. That's a possibility. There are teams that might want DeAndre Hopkins, but I don't think it's going to be a lot of like premier contenders. I think Pittsburgh is his best bet because I think he offers enough versatility to have the size to play on the outside still, but he doesn't have the explosiveness. I think his best option is to move more to a slot role and kind of have like this late career Larry Fitzgerald type of role in Pittsburgh where he can complement George Pickens as the outside wide receiver. Arthur Smith typically does like his big wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins would certainly fit the mold. D-Hop, I also feel like would just be that savvy veteran presence that George Pickens needs with a little bit of leadership and experience. I feel like D-Hop is also a guy that can be reliable to move the chains and get drives started for a Pittsburgh offense that was rather uneven. It felt like they just didn't have that guy that can just settle the offense down. And Hopkins is still incredibly savvy. Still got good hands, although dropped more passes this past year, it felt like, than ever. And he does have something to prove. A little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Won't be too expensive for Pittsburgh, but still has enough left. I still feel like he has enough left to complement a receiving core, to be a number 2 or number 3. So DeAndre Hopkins to the Steelers does make a lot of sense to me. Now, let's talk about a couple trades that could happen. DK Metcalf to the Packers is the first one. Metcalf is going to have many suitors, but the Packers feel the most realistic. Green Bay loves their vertical passing game. Green Bay is also going to be missing Christian Watson, a wide receiver that I was actually comped to DK Metcalf very often because of their height and their speed. Metcalf is a player that brings rare dimension in terms of physicality and vertical speed. He is a scary player to play against because he can score a touchdown on any play. Now, typically it's not from yak, it's from just running by you. But Metcalf is just a monster. And imagine Matt LaFleur scheming up ways for Metcalf to run against safeties, like to get his speed matched up on opposing secondaries. That's a scary thought. This is a guy that was running in the Olympic trials. Like, he is very fast and he is very big. And because he's so hard to press, it makes him very difficult to stop. Yeah, his limited route tree has been a problem throughout his career, but it hasn't really stopped him from being a top 20 receiver in his NFL career pretty much every year of his NFL career. Like, he's been a top 20 player at this position every year of his career. He's had 900 plus yards every year of his career. He's worked with multiple quarterbacks, numerous systems. It felt like last year they kind of phased him out and he became a little bit inconsistent because they weren't targeting him. They weren't making him a priority in their offense. It became the JSN show. So for me, I think Metcalf to the Packers, you put that speed, that ability to get the intermediate and deep ball in an offense that features the intermediate and deep ball and a bunch of screens, and you've got Reed to be the underneath guy and the screen guy. You'll eventually get Watson back. You'll have Romeo Doubs to be that kind of jump ball winner and the back shoulder artist. You've got Wicks to be the complimentary guy. And then, of course, you've got Tucker Kraft at tight end. They need a real number 1 threat. A guy that Jordan Love can just throw the ball on a one-on-one fade and see what happens. A guy that when they need an explosive play, they can rely on him. So I think Metcalf would be that guy, and I've heard the Packers have already sent some offers for him, which is pretty interesting. So, yeah, this one feels like a good fit for me. And the final prediction at wide receiver for the offseason is Brandon Aiyuk getting traded to the New England Patriots. Now, this is not one I thought I would be saying because I feel like after he signed with the 49ers and got extended, he wasn't going to be leaving the 49ers. But the Instagram post happened. Debo got traded. And it feels like the Niners are open to trading Brandon Aiyuk. They certainly have not said that they wouldn't. And there's been at least 12 reports I've read coming from rather Patriots fans that are connected to the team or actual Patriots sources that they're really interested in Brandon Aiyuk. And when you start to think about it, they were really interested last offseason. They wanted Brandon Aiyuk desperately. Like, they had a better offer for Brandon Aiyuk than any team in the NFL. They had a better contract offer than what he got in San Francisco. Those are facts. Those have been reported on. So the Patriots wanted Brandon Aiyuk last year. Now you add Mike Vrabel back into this mix, and that might change some things. But Elliott Wolf was certainly absolutely smitten about Brandon Aiyuk. Now, that being said, I feel like Josh McDaniels would also be, because I think Aiyuk is one of those players that, despite being more of a perimeter receiver, which is not usually the guy that's featured in a New England offense, what he does bring is an extremely savvy route tree. He's got this rare sort of bendability and like moldable routes, like his ability to kind of like, it's hard to explain, but he's got this like Gumby style, like swiftness to his routes, if that makes sense. It's this lateral movement that you rarely see from a player of his stature. He doesn't have the most vertical speed, but where he is incredible is both underneath and intermediate. He can run by some people and create a contested catch because he does have very good hands and he does have ability to track the football well. But in a Patriots Josh McDaniels offense, he would be very good at the intermediate level, which is where I think he would be featured a ton. So he's almost like Jacoby Myers, but better for Patriots fans out there. He's kind of like Jacoby Myers, but more explosive, a better athlete, better with the ball in his hands, really good after the catch. So that's kind of what I would compare him to, actually. It's a pretty good comparison. So that's where I could see why McDaniels would love him, and I feel like the Patriots would really want him in their offense. Because despite being more of an outside player, although you can play him inside, he wasn't really featured there because of Debo in San Francisco, but you can move him around. He could be that Z or the X. So yeah, I could see them going after him, and that's why I think if he does get traded, it will be to the Patriots. If he doesn't get traded, he might not. You know, it would make more sense if he wasn't, because they already traded Debo. Are they going to trade both receivers? That feels unlikely. But if he does get traded, I think it will be to New England. So those are my landing spots for the top wide receivers available in both free agency and the trade market. T. Higgins is one that didn't appear in this video. I feel like I've talked about T. Higgins 1,000 times already. And I do kind of feel like now that Trey Hendrickson's on the trade block, T. Higgins is probably staying. He's probably staying. But if they could work something out with Hendrickson, and then maybe they could trade T. Higgins. So it kind of depends on what happens with Hendrickson. But those are my thoughts for now, guys. Gronk spike the like button, guys. It does really help the video. Comment if you watch this entire video, say Brady. Thanks for watching. Peace.